Hey everyone, welcome to the UploadVR Gamescast. I'm Zeena, I'll be your host, and with me today, I've got two people, actually. Normally it's just one. But gracing us with his presence today is Ian Hamilton. What the heck are you doing?
That was alarming. You're in my space. I don't like it.
I had to close the door because I could hear Zeena in the other room. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, he was just suddenly a giant right next to me.
I was trying to do it stealthily.
I played some VR games this week, so I thought I'd join Jamie and Zeena and talk about them.
You had some fun in VR. You weren't just talking about, what's Zuckerberg gonna do next? Is he watching right now? Is he behind my curtains?
The philosophy show has ended.
Standing in the corner of my room watching me in my VR now. I played actual VR games this week.
Yeah. Living in the present for a change.
Well, I was going to ask how you were, but it seems you are euphoric. You are experiencing euphoria in VR.
Me or Ian?
No, Ian.
Oh, okay.
I played mini golf. I played Magic. I played baseball. VR is coming together. It's here. The future's here.
Bloody hell! Could you say it's coming home? Anyway. I'm not even going to start on that today. I'm not even going to start on that.
I don't know if anyone's even going to understand that joke in this chat, are they?
Really? Oh, I guess.
Are people aware that England now uses "it's coming home" as a meme for every time we sort of do all right at football? That's what happens.
You mean soccer?
Oh, God. You see? Wasted. Okay,
Ian, you're wrong. The person who actually said the right kind of football is Jamie Feltham, who, the one and only, joins us every week. Of course, we are not alone. You guys are watching live. Shout out to, here we go, Adam Hansel, the absolute boy. We've also got Pog Poggers, of course. Daniel Lingard Leaper. We've got Nakoya and Butt or something.
Do it.
Butt or something is a name. And I don't know what to name myself, lol. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Adam Hartzell, I got a bone to pick with you. Which camera should I look at right now?
What are you doing? He's a member.
I saw the Sniper Elite comments. I saw you commenting on my echoing. No, that was very good constructive feedback. And I appreciate it, Adam. Everyone be constructive with their feedback about the Sniper Elite review.
No, that was actually a threat.
He picked up the echo because I recorded it rather slapdash yesterday. But he's right that I need to drape myself in like some blankets and record like that just to destroy all echo. Yeah. I didn't think people would be able to pick it up, but Adam, you know what they say about him, ears like a fox.
Adam, we're very happy to have you here. Let's move on. So, today, this week isn't as busy as it was last week. Last week, Jamie reviewed 7 games, all right?
What?
Yeah, 7 games. What the hell, right?
It was a catch-up session.
I mean, that's just, I'm so tired, laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only 2 games this week, but they were both like really long, so... I'm kind of still in a similar position.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be one, like Facebook? You're holding these developers at gunpoint and saying, no, you release your game this week. Just get them to do it one game a week. Please. Yep. Please. Anyway.
So Jamie's eyes are just as dead as what they are right here in VR in real life.
I have no soul.
All right. So we are, shout out to everyone. Shout out to our members. You guys support us. We love it. If you just want to support us on a one-off, if you, a little whatever, there's super chat. You can send us a little super chat, Biddy Bob, in the chat. But we're going to get started with the show. Today, we're going to start off with several news stories, and then we're going to head in to a couple of reviews, which is going to be for Sniper Elite VR and Sam & Max. This time it's virtual. And then after that, we're going to round up the best VR sports games. We updated our list. We're going to go 3 on. Let's kick it off with Fracked, right? It's our Upload VR access title for this month. What does that mean? It means that we're going to be deep diving into. Oh, here we go. We're going to be deep diving into the title. We're going to be giving you impressions, all sorts of stuff. We've already got this up. This right here is an interview with Steve Watt. Which is Steve Watt, the creative director of Fracked. He's actually talking to Jamie there. So Jamie, fill us in.
Yeah, we did. You remember in the past when we used to go to development studios and interview developers?
That was a lifetime
for the first time in ages.
Yeah,
which was a really, really surreal experience. There's a lot of history for me and Zeena at End Dreams. If you didn't know, we actually the first time we met was at End Dreams.
Yeah.
Back in 2016, very early 2016. So yeah, we got to go back there and see Fracked, which is the new PSVR exclusive. And as he was saying, we're gonna have loads of really cool coverage about it this month. But starting off with this cool chat about the game, including a look at some more gameplay and everything like that. I have to say, there was a time like a couple of years ago that End Dreams were putting out games like Danger Goat and what was the launch title? The Assembly, which is that narrative-driven thing. And me and Zeena talk about this quite a lot. Like those games weren't that great, and Shooty Fruity. I know lots of people love Shooty Fruity, but I mean it's Shooty Fruity. It's not.
Oh come on! It's a shooting of the fruiting, which we will also be touching on later today. Not as Shooty Fruity, but as another fruit destroying title
based game.
So believe it or not.
But after Phantom, which I was very, very fond of, and then having played this, I was so taken
by Phantom.
Yeah, it was such a smart idea. I thought the design of Phantom was so good, and then having played this, and I'll be delivering impressions as part of Access Month in a week or two. I'm really looking forward to Fracked. It's a bit weird because we started this year and releases were so few and far between, and there weren't many big ones. There weren't many really, really good ones. So it was kind of like very good. It was kind of like, oh man, I'm being really harsh on all these games, and I feel like I'm not having that much fun in VR at the moment. And now we get to summer, and Sniper Elite is this week, Sam & Max is this week, Fracked is coming up in the summer. Like after the fall, like Township Tale next week.
Summer.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, like Arashi, Castles of Sin, Winds and Leaves at the end of the month. It's just suddenly just all arriving, and it was starting to feel like it would be kind of a quiet year for VR, and that's kind of changing now, which is nice. And Fracked is a good sign of that, I think.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And throughout the month, we got it right here. Everything that we're going to do with Upload Access. July. What day even is it today?
Thursday the 8th.
8th. All right, cool. Developer interview out. Done. Watch it now. Not now, after the show. Tomorrow, we have got the art of Fracked, which the art style for the game is actually incredibly striking. So I'm looking forward to that one. We got the music of Fracked. If you've already watched the developer interview, you'd know that they're kind of going for an action movie kind of theme vibe. So music is a big thing in that. New gameplay and impressions. We've seen lots of gameplay. Looking forward to the impressions.
Yeah, for sure.
I have the impression it's going to be positive.
I will say though, it is a game that would make Ian Hamilton sick in mere minutes, if not seconds. You start out on a ski slope.
Yeah, I mean, does it have what are its comfort settings? Do you have any like vignetting?
I think you could do vignetting. You can't do any teleporting. So, and it is like you can't. I don't think you can alter the speed of how you walk. So, it's. Maybe not population one bad.
I'll get sick. I'll get sick once. It's fine.
Yeah. Always give it the first test, eh?
Well, speaking of the little pukies, we're going to look at the locomotion deep dive as well.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
tune in on July 19th.
How much
Ian,
does Jamie
'cause we're
vomit
gonna look
over
at it.
himself?
Choo choo chunder. And then
Oh,
lastly, we're going to
God.
look at who are End Dreams, which we kind of, touched on a little tiny bit, listing off their games. But there's more to that studio than VR, actually. They're a deep cut in the gaming industry. So yeah, looking forward to that stuff. Just wanted to touch on that. We good to move on, or do you want to say anything else about Fracked?
No, I think that's good. I think we'll have more to say in the coming weeks as we actually talk about what we thought of playing it and and get to reveal a little more gameplay.
Cool. Poggers. I see in the chat you say, go on to Onward 2. Okay, we will. We'll move that up the list for you right now.
Oh, I was just about to put Fruit Ninja VR on the screen.
Oh no! Sorry. It's just that I had it right up on my screen as well, and I thought, you know what? YOLO. Popular multiplayer shooter Onward gains one of the writers, so, keyword multiplayer, gains one of the writers behind Star Wars Battlefront 2's single-player campaign. Writer Mitch Dyer now lists writer at Downpour Interactive on his Twitter profile, and on his personal website, Dyer also confirms he's currently working on an unannounced project at Downpour Interactive. Could that unannounced project be Mark Zuckerberg's highly anticipated Onward 2? Discuss.
Mark Zuckerberg's highly anticipated Onward 2. Right at the top of his list, of his Christmas wish list. Yeah, this is really interesting. This is something I noticed. I've actually followed Mitch Dyer for a while. He used to work at IGN, and I admired a lot of his work at IGN. And then he moved on to... You do mention him quite a lot. Yeah, he moved on, but I just hadn't noticed in the bio until last week. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. He's working at Downpour now. I'm familiar with his work, so I know he's a really good writer and he does really good stuff. I really like Star Wars Battlefront 2's campaign from a story perspective. And he's gone on to do... There was this kind of short movie for Star Wars Squadrons as well. That was one of those 15-minute CG scripted things where you had a character that was fighting the Empire and it went on a little story that was also good. And he's doing work on the upcoming Batman game, Gotham Knights, which is again is a very, very story-driven thing. So, given that
single player,
well, that is a multiplayer thing, but a co-op story thing still. So, given that, Zuckerberg said what he said a couple of months ago now about Onward 2.
Sweet baby Rays.
And his and what what I've just said about Mitch Dyer. You don't tend to bring on a writer of that caliber onto a multiplayer game unless you're going to be doing something significant in the narrative department, right? I think if Onward 2, assuming it exists, which let's be honest, it probably does, and it's still multiplayer only, I could see them doing a kind of Last of Us factions kind of thing where, the original Last of Us had a multiplayer mode that was kind of you picked two different campaigns and went all the way through it over the course of it was 100 matches was a campaign, and it wasn't really massively story focused, but I could see them doubling down on something like that. But the other thing, I think it just makes sense to think about, right, is does this mean that Onward 2 could potentially have a single player campaign? Which I think is a really, really interesting little proposition. In that framing of Facebook's stable of IP and developers that it's building up right now. I said this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, but Onward started out as this simulation realistic thing, and in terms of actual flat screen games, you'd consider it more to be something closer to Armor or Operation Flashpoint.
Yeah,
but it's did Facebook buy it to be VR's or Facebook's Call of Duty, and expand the sequel into this big fleshed out story campaign and a suite of new multiplayer options, right? That that seems like a very interesting idea.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes sense. Like Onward 2, like what else could you do with it other than, make other maps? You could bring in more of a story aspect to it. Makes sense. Ian, have you got any thoughts, any
Well, just thinking
wanderings?
about the comparison to Call of Duty is always difficult because it's such a polished, so many millions of dollars being thrown at that title, and
Yeah.
to think of Onward growing into something of that magnitude is kind of impossible to picture at this point, considering the production they put into that game. And you go full circle back to that question of locomotion and are we ever going to see those traditional 2D games get comfort and locomotion options to make them playable in VR, or is it are we going to have this divorce between 2D and VR shooter games for another decade? I don't know.
So that's an interesting point, which I think we could maybe pick up with Sniper Elite VR when we cover the review for that. Because
that's true. That's very true.
I think that's a really good theme for Sniper Elite VR.
I think, and I think one of the interesting things to hit back on it is just if you look at what Facebook is doing with the studios they've bought and the games and the portfolio they're starting to build as this first party, Sony PlayStation Studios kind of thing, but for VR. Obviously, to them, Asgard's Wrath was like their answer to having like a Skyrim in VR, right? And it's right, like Ian's right that even Asgard's Wrath is what was one of their biggest investments to date at that time, was something like a 30 to 40 hour experience, not that big Skyrim 100-hour experience thing. So it's building up to all of that. And yeah, I don't think Onward 2, if it does have a single player campaign, I'm not expecting, modern warfare levels of like giant set pieces with like really well orchestrated sequences to go through that end up taking months and months of people's lives to design, years of people's lives to design, because all of that stuff's really, really hard to figure out still. But I don't know, like I just think there's a lot of potential in taking the mechanics they've already got for multiplayer, which are so in tune to VR, because all of Onward is about this kind of realistic weapon handling, and focusing that into a campaign, especially because that's what people ask for time and time again right now. And Facebook's mission in VR right now is to answer all those different calls that are coming in from gamers, let alone all the other types of people that are buying VR right now.
I do wonder what the release schedule is for something like an Onward single player campaign. I mean, with the Call of Duties of the world, you've got them on this kind of like yearly release schedule, having to keep those quarterly earnings up and make your investors happy. Yeah. Where I'm curious how quickly we're going to see this release schedule come out for those Oculus Facebook Studios.
Yeah. Games. I mean, it does just go back to the question of will they reveal Onward 2 this year? Because if not, it was just so weirdly premature for Zuckerberg to mention it, wasn't it? Like the buyout is what, like 2 or 3 months old now? Not that old, and we don't know what stage a potential sequel was in development when that was agreed. But given he mentioned it, I would like to think that maybe we'll see something at Facebook Connect in 2 months' time. But that's that's ambitious. Maybe not, because they really don't have much else announced coming up right now, right? Like Lone Echo 2 is presumably going to be out around September time, if not before. We know it's a summer game, so it might be.
Yeah.
And then what? Like Beat Saber's going to keep churning out the DLC. We haven't seen anything from Sanzaru since Asgard's Wrath, which was 2 years old now, I want to say. So there's not. They've owned 5 studios, and there's nothing actually new announced coming out from them right now, which is a weird position to be in. So I feel like we'll see something later this year, hopefully.
So just touching on a few comments here. Daniel says, the problem with these bigger, better games with more depth is the hardware. Everybody wants more now, but the Quest 2 isn't powerful enough.
That is
Wiki
true.
Peoples agrees with that. Onikazi, our good friend, says maybe like Titanfall 1 story.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Titanfall was another multiplayer-only game that built out a world and a lore in quite an interesting way. So that's actually probably the best example of that that I can think of. I guess obviously you also had things like Overwatch that aren't necessarily just doing story in the game. You get like the webcomics with the characters and everything like that. So there's all of that as well. I mean, having said that, I don't think anyone would be too excited about the prospect of a Onward webcomic, but
Upload's own Heaney, David Heaney, thank you for watching every week. Number one fan.
Thanks for the support, Heaney.
Yeah, he says, well, we're still actually in the Quest 1 game era. Resident Evil 4 VR is the first Quest 2 exclusive I know of. If devs are allowed to build for Quest 2 only, we could see bigger scope games.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point. And we'll get into this a bit more again later, but I have to say, like, we were quite impressed with what we've played of Sniper Elite 2 on Quest 2 so far. We haven't played it on Quest 1 yet, and I definitely want to go check that out. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something that we're going to start incorporating much more, especially with our graphics comparisons. As the divide grows and grows. So lovely of you to join us again, Ian.
I got a low RAM warning on my headset. That was a new one to see.
Oh, you're getting all sorts of updates today, aren't you?
Yeah. I think it was Heaney telling me that I've got low RAM for some reason. I don't know what Heaney knows about my headset that I don't, but it's scary.
Just throw it in the bin right now.
I'm going to take off the thanks for watching thing on the screen because we are not finished. We are far from finished. Speaking of finished, are we finished with Onward or?
Yeah, I don't know. We end up talking about this hypothetical game almost week in, week out at the moment. So that's why I just want it to be real and exist, so we can actually just talk about it and not, hypothesize about it.
I think it's still going to be another year. Until
you're probably right, but I don't want you to be right.
I am right. All right, we're going to move on from Onward. I'll come back to any other comments that may or may not come in. We are going to touch on a certain fruit destruction game, Fruit Ninja 2 VR. It's getting Fruit Ninja is getting a sequel, and there's going to be archery. I don't know what kind of ninja does archery. I could be totally wrong. Jamie's the kind of Japan expert, being a white guy obsessed with Japan. Anyway, it's now listed on Steam VR after being quietly announced in June. The whole thing about it is, there's going to be archery, there's going to be a larger world to explore, meaning the world of Fruit Ninja is growing. Is there going to be growing lore in the world of Fruit Ninja? I don't know. So I can only hope.
That's what I've always hoped for, is a deeper Fruit Ninja world.
Yeah. Developer Halfbrick is also promising more weapons other than, bow and arrow and sword. And I don't know what else you'd use. Is it just the sword?
They say, so in the Steam listing, they say there's a bow and arrow now. There's a sword. The sword has always been there, but coming soon are more weapons. So, yeah.
Have we got the video up? Shall I get the video up on here?
I don't have it on a channel yet, so you won't find it. Sorry. I'm getting called out for not uploading videos to the right channels.
Louise!
Oh no, I'm in trouble.
Ian, you into the archery? I know you like archery in VR.
Yeah, I almost popped out of here to go play because archery and Fruit Ninja. Oh my gosh, it's exactly what I've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, I want to know more about the actual history of, Japan ninjas and archery. Where does that kind of cross? I need to know this. I hope it covers it in a potential extensive story mode. That's not going to happen, by the way, everyone.
It's very interesting to me that they've decided to make another Fruit Ninja, though, because I feel like the first one obviously made sense in terms of, Fruit Ninja is one of those mobile things that has probably made those people infinity money, and they can pretty much do whatever they want without concern. So I feel like Fruit Ninja VR was very much built off of that, right? Like it was like, we're going to put this thing out in 2016 just so that there's more VR content out there. We'll experiment. And obviously the whole idea of Fruit Ninja is pretty, complements the whole VR experience quite well as well. So I did. It's just very interesting to me that they're then going to go and make a sequel, of all things, to Fruit Ninja. Not that I really have a problem with it. It'll be, it's going to be some more polished arcade action at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it looks lovely. Not gonna lie,
it does look lovely. I think the visuals. I'll try and get another screenshot up, but the visuals style is really, really good. Yeah, go for it. The visual style is really good. They seem to be building this one out as more of a platform, right? Because in the Steam VR listing, it says coming soon, new weapons, multiplayer.
Yes.
And a couple of other things as well. Multiplayer seems like it could be really, really interesting. Especially on Quest or something, right? Like everyone working together to be like really precise and synchronized in terms of shots. That's a very, very interesting idea.
Imagine if you could be different classes. One person's an archer, another person's with like the sword. That would be so cool.
Oh, an MMO. The MMO that VR's been waiting for is in fact Fruit Ninja.
Do you know what? I'm actually way more into this than, let's say, another very popular mobile game. Is it Angry Pigs? I
mean, there are pigs in Angry Birds.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if you were trying to be like silly. Oh, no. Oh wait, that was genuine. Okay, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke. Yeah, we're just gonna let it slide.
I couldn't remember.
Oh my gosh, Angry Birds. Angry
Pigs. Birds.
Well, there's VR Angry Birds as well.
There's many Angry Birds.
Yeah, there's too many.
Yeah.
We must kill the Angry Birds. Call the Angry Birds.
Oh no, I actually feel quite sad that I called it Angry Pigs. Anyway.
Yep.
Yes, you should. I think this looks lovely. I'm looking forward to you playing it and me watching it because I don't necessarily
want to play it.
But I'm looking forward to looking at it.
Which systems is it confirmed for?
Well, so far only Steam VR, and it says coming late 2021. But Fruit Ninja ended up coming to everything, so you have to assume that they don't suddenly want to make less money with the sequel. So
I like this. I've got my swivel chair, and I can just swing into your view. So let's get the camera over to you. Here, say something.
Hello.
Watch
da,
this.
da, 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 da.
Hello, Jamie.
Oh. Over here on the action camera.
Oh.
What? Channel 4 News.
Sorry.
It's great. You looked great. There's so much more potential to explore. We should really get into like performance theater, really. Why are we even doing this like this? This should be like a soap opera, like.
Should it?
Yeah, we should make it like EastEnders or whatever they have where he lives.
Get out my pub! I think I said that last week as well. I literally said that last week. Anyway, I think that's all we can kind of say about I was going to say Angry Birds, about Fruit Ninja 2.
Worth flagging, but just because it's kind of weird. I'm just so like, I just saw it and I was like, what? Okay, yeah, sure. We'll do more of that. And more of that we will do later this year.
We will do.
That's going right to the top of the most anticipated games list right now. Sorry, Lone Echo 2.
See you Onward 2.
Yeah.
All right. This is about the time where we move on to our review section. So there are 2 games that are out today. Sniper Elite VR and Sam & Max. This time it's virtual. And Jamie's published. Sorry, go on.
And then the Ian stuff as well, obviously.
Yes, but we shall get on to that. That's not strictly a review.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go first.
Stop stepping on in here.
Sorry. I just wanted to make sure because you've got the first thing. You've got Ian's thing written first in the notes, so I thought we were going to do Ian's.
I'll just swing out of your picture. You go.
I don't.
Oh man, the camera switched. Oh, ruined my joke.
Anyway, let's touch on the proper reviews first, and then Ian is going to touch on an early access Quest game called Totally Baseball. But let's start off with Sniper Elite VR. We got our review out and a video review, a full-on video review. Jamie, you want to take it away?
Yeah, we do have a full-on video review, so I don't have to be super presenty. This is going to end up being its own YouTube video with this. And you've also probably heard me talk about this a million times in the past week. I am very happy to report, after all the coverage we've done recently, that I really, really like Sniper Elite VR. I wasn't really expecting to be honest, because Rebellion is a really good developer that does fun B-movie kind of design a lot of the time. If you haven't played Sniper Elite VR, you might know Strange Brigade, which is one of their newest ones, and Zombie Army is also one of their newest ones, and they have this kind of very distinctive, B-movie kind of feel, essentially, at the end of the day. And I wasn't sure if that was going to translate very well to VR. And this is kind of a B-movie game in a lot of ways. It's not, again, talking about that big Call of Duty experience. It's absolutely not that. But at the same time, right now, in terms of like the quality of VR shooters out there, and the quality of VR shooter campaigns specifically, we could actually use a bit of B-movie and that kind of dependable, laundry list of first-person shooter objectives of, sneak into the base, cover the ally with the sniper rifle, set the charge, all that kind of stuff that you're used to kind of cycling through in, like, let's say, mid-noughties era, like World War II action games, because obviously back then that was basically all we had to play. It does all of that stuff really, really well in VR, and there's a dependability to that that's just very, very refreshing to have in terms of a shooter campaign. And the other thing to talk about it is just the weapon handling is great. I love using snipers in this, and I primarily played with 2 motion controllers, not the PlayStation aim controller, which we'll talk about in a second. There's a process to using the weapons in Sniper Elite VR, which is, aim the rifle, get your eye through the scope, get the shot lined up, pull the trigger, but then, the bullet's going to fire out the side and you're going to have to pull the bolt back. And that's not, easy to do while keeping your aim. So there's this kind of like very natural, authentic, almost kind of rustic feel to the shooting if you're using those motion controllers, in terms of getting that process down and making sure that you're safe to reload, making sure you're not exposed when you're not able to return fire, and then getting everything locked and loaded again and getting back behind the scope. And I really fell in love with that kind of rhythm when using those motion controllers. When you play on PSVR and you use the aim controller is a really, really wonderful thing. And I really, really enjoyed the same thing that you always enjoy with the aim controller, which is that powerful feeling of actually holding a rifle on a weapon. It automates a lot of the reloading, so it actually makes the game significantly easier, which is quite interesting. And I think, for a lot of people listening to this, that's fine. They're gonna want to play with the aim controller anyway because of that immersive aspect.
Here it is on screen.
That's a totally legitimate way to play the game instead, if that's the way you want to go for it. But yeah, I just had a really, really great time running through a 5 to 7 hour campaign, getting in lots of really fun sniper kills, using the physicality of VR to reload, throw grenades, lean out of cover, especially in the stealth stuff. The cover works really well, and unlike a lot of other VR stealth games, it's actually very comprehensive, very, for lack of a better term, not broken stealth, which is quite rare in VR. So that's nice to see. And yeah, it's just a really fun, dependable shooter, elevated by the fact there aren't many of those going around at the moment, essentially. Yeah. So if you're really interested in getting a fun shooter campaign out of VR, this is a great place to start, I think.
Are we giving that a 4 out of 5?
4 out of 5.
Which is, aka, great. On our review scale. Fantastisch. Wolfie HD said, I'm more interested in stealth games, and I think it's amazing. I see some people defending Medal of Honor in the chat as well, which is something else that I think we want to touch on in the next week.
I need to get back to to playing Medal of Honor as a specific comparison piece to this, because David reviewed Medal of Honor back in the day. I haven't spent enough time with it. And I would really like to put them side by side. And I know some of the complaints about Medal of Honor were, the ideas of like, oh, the levels are too short and you're going back to the menu all the time and everything like that. Sniper Elite does also have short levels, but it also has, some quite long levels. So I don't think that will be the same kind of, I don't think that will get the same kind of criticism from the player base once it's out there, which is in 25 minutes.
Onikazi, I see you said that there was really severe offset from where the aim controller was versus the rifle. The rifle actually took the place of what you were holding, and I think they had the aim controller there as an example because that was when you first pick up a gun. Yeah, it's an example of like how it's moving and then it disappears.
Yeah,
it's the same with the move controllers as well.
Yeah, that's 100% what it is for sure.
But
yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this game loads at this point. I'm just happy it's good because people were waiting. It was announced back in, I want to say 2019, maybe a little earlier, and then it just disappeared. It fell off the face of the earth for so long, and then it came back, and then it fell off the face of the earth for so long again. So it's just a relief after all of that it's not, vaporware and terrible at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it, watching you play it. There you go, great. Here are your pros and your cons here.
Yeah.
But I think you struggled with the cons as well, though, right?
Yeah, because I like to try and get 3 of each out there, but I ended up saying aim controller makes it too easy. That is a con in my head, but I think a lot of people won't have an issue with that. I think lots of people will enjoy the shooties. Because the other thing about the aim controller is, when you're using a sniper rifle, it doesn't have that kind of the same process. But when you're doing the kind of on foot machine gun missions and everything like that, it's a really fantastic way to play then. So it's so interesting. Like, sorry,
some people...
I'm pretty excited for this one. Of all the shooter games, stealth and sniper rifle is the way I like to play a shooter game. So I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, and it runs well on Quest 2 as well. Like, I'm actually, from what I've played so far, I'm very surprised by that. And I think it's best to play with those 2 motion controllers and get into that system. And before you start playing, you can completely customize what you want to see in the HUD. If you want to see those gory kill cams, you can just completely take those away because you actually ride the bullet in some options, which is really sickening. So maybe look at the comfort settings before.
I'll turn that completely off. That's great to hear.
Yeah. No, they've done really good work. Rebellion did really, really good work with us, and Just Add Water, I should add as well, and CodeSync. Big team effort from UK VR studios.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't change videos or anything, just FYI.
What would you like to change?
Well, just another Sniper Elite video. Just because, FYI, if you are thinking about buying it, if you've just bought it and you need to see more content on it, Sniper Elite was actually our upload access title for only a week. It was upload access light. And we've got stuff like footage from, a sniper nest level. We've got a full level run through. We've got graphics comparison for all 3 platforms that it's out on, which is Quest, PCVR, and PSVR. We've got lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
And we've also got an interview, right?
Yeah, we spoke to creative director, I believe that was his title, Steve Bristow from Rebellion. That's a good little interview. So even if you go back, even if you played the game, that's worth going back to watch and just see a little bit more out of where the developer's headspace was at while making it.
Yeah. Cool. So next up on the review list is Sam & Max. This time it's virtual, which this is we're taking a total turn from what we were talking about, real in-depth stealth and very accurate shooting and such things, and whatever. And Sam & Max, I think it's captured both of our hearts, right, Jamie?
In a lot of ways for sure.
Ian, have you seen much of it?
I know nothing about this series. You guys have been talking about Sam and Max for months, and I'm like, what's a salmon and what's a Max? I have no
so
clue.
Cute and they're so funny.
It was like, it started out, I think, as like a comic book series in like the early 90s. And then it's one of those things that had one of those kind of like LucasArts point and click adventure games. So, like Day of the Tentacle or Grim Fandango, stuff like that. And then it had
Manny.
it went away for a long time. There was a cancel game, and then it had some of those, Telltale games as well, like the Walking Dead series and everything like that. It had some of those as well. So it's very much a point and click adventure kind of thing, but just they work for the freelance police, or they are the freelance police, and they do cases that involve, blowing up multi-headed monsters in the middle of cities. And this game is kind of like there is kind of like a story running throughout, but there's like, it's like a bunch of mini games and bizarro cases mainly that are kind of isolated instead. So that's, it's a bizarro world kind of vibe is what it is.
Yeah.
Shall I review it?
Yeah, go ahead. You were very mixed, right?
Yeah, so that's it's interesting. You said it captured our hearts, and that is absolutely true, because we did play the first 25 minutes of the first 25 minutes of the game earlier this year, and I really, really enjoyed playing those 25 minutes, because there's a whole bunch of it's what's showing on the screen right now. There's a whole bunch of really interesting mechanics that are always kind of light. They're never like, it's, for obvious reasons, it's not like I'm about to use an RPG, and it's not like Onward levels of like reloading when I'm reloading the RPG. It's not like Boneworks levels of physics while I'm using it, and that's all fine, but it is very, light. It feels like this RPG that I'm holding is just like a popsicle stick or something, essentially. And at the start of the game, when it's throwing all these different ideas at you, it's very fresh and very fun and great to go through all those different scenarios and do these weird things. It's just then you start moving into the second half of the game, and it starts recycling some of those ideas, and that's when you start thinking, actually, this isn't, quite as fun as it could have been. It's a shame they're kind of revisiting the same ideas rather than fleshing out new concepts. And it gets a bit more into the reads with that kind of, like we were saying, like LucasArts point and click puzzle kind of stuff. There's not so much of that stuff, but when they do it, it can fall into that trap of just being so obscenely obscure in the solution that you end up solving it thinking, how the heck was I meant to do that any other way than just completely guessing my way through it? And there was one big offender as we were going through the second half of the game yesterday, where we were in a mini mart, and there were demons in a mini mart, and you needed one specific item to finish off the final demon, and it's hidden away in, I don't want to spoil it, but it's hidden away in just the most obscure, why would I have ever looked in their place? And it's like a 5x5 meter mini mart, and I'm just walking around this tiny area over and over again, like, what the heck do I do? And eventually, I say this in the review, I had to ask for help, and they pointed out where it is. So you get that kind of stuff, and I've said this many times, I hate that kind of stuff in VR, because I just hate being stuck in VR. I suddenly am acutely aware that I have this uncomfortable face brick on my face. I'm walking around, there's this music looping over and over again. The characters are saying the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I want to be anywhere else other than here right now. But the game's saving grace in that respect is that it's really, really funny. Sam and Max are hilarious. The script is really, really sharp. And to that extent, this is probably the first game I've reviewed where I screencast the entire thing, because you were just enjoying watching it so much and hearing the banter so much. And we were laughing genuinely every couple of minutes from, Max is this kind of psychotic little rabbit thing, and things he's saying, you think is either some combination of so brilliantly witty that you have that instantaneous laugh reaction, or just so weird and aggressive that you kind of think, how did the developer get away with that? But okay, in some really, really great ways. And then Sam is just this lovably naive, kind of like if the Americans know Stephen Fry, just the big,
he is Stephen Fry.
Yeah, he is big British guy who bumbles along and says like overly elaborate word jargon all the time. That's kind of what his shtick is as well. And
they're in the big blue house sort of vibe.
Yes, yeah, that's true actually. And it's great for that. I was laughing the entire time. And so even though, gameplay wise, I wanted a lot more polish and I wanted a lot of those mechanics to be fleshed out, I ended up giving the game 3 out of stars because I genuinely felt, I'm going to say, quite positive most of the way through, just being carried through on the strength of the script and just standing around with these two, not iconic, but beloved characters. I would say iconic, but that's Batman. They're not exactly Batman. They've just been around a long time.
How dare you?
Yeah. So yeah, I went with a 3 out of 5. I think if you're a fan of the series, and as we know from running the UploadVR showcase, lots of people are fans of Sam and Max. Lots of people in the comments section for during the showcase wanted to see those two. If you are one of those people that are at the showcase, hungry for more Sam and Max content, you're gonna love it. It's the kind of puzzling that you're gonna want to see, the kind of weird, wacky scenarios you're gonna want to see. I just think in terms of a VR game perspective, the design could be better, but I was laughing so hard that it made up for a lot of it.
Lovely. So yeah, 3 out of 5, barely scraping 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I guess that's.
And again, it's like
it, yeah.
their charisma that kind of got them through to that. Some people are saying, I think it's the kind of idea of Sam and Max. It's meant to be a little bit random, said Daniel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it is. And you are doing random things right the way through. At one point, you're like fighting microscopic creatures with a ray gun. It's just, and it's like weird and bizarre, but it's also just like the 5th time in the game you've used the ray gun, and you're like, okay, you're no longer kind of getting away with the fact that this implementation of using a gun is like all the way back to like 2016 era VR, if not even more basic than some of those launch games then. It's like to reload the gun, you have this battery cell and you just like clip it in with the gun model basically for it to reload and just suddenly have more ammo. So it's that kind of stuff, it's troubled in that way.
The most striking thing about the game, when I was watching it while you were playing it, you had more of like the basic puzzles, and you have the banter with Sam and Max, but also the most striking thing were the head puzzles.
Those are fun.
So it's
in America, do you have the game Twist It? Is that what you call it, or Bop It?
Bop It.
The little handheld
Bop
thing
it.
where you
where it's like Twist It, Bop It, and you do the different things.
Yeah.
So they have that in Sam and Max, but they're severed robotic heads with bombs inside of them. And you have to, if he's like, poke me, you poke him in the eyes. If it's boot me, you poke him in the nose. And then he has like different buttons on him. And that kind of stuff is really, really, really fun. That's my favorite puzzle in the game, to be fair. And they do that 2 or 3 times over. But yeah.
Daniel's comment here calls the humor like PG Trover Saves the World. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it.
That is it.
Daniel, that's annoyingly good. I wish I'd thought of that.
Come on to the podcast now.
But yeah, that's that. And that's out on Quest today. And it's coming to it's weird. It's like a timed exclusive on Quest, even though it already had a Steam Game Festival demo. But it will be out on Steam and on PSVR later down the line.
Cool. Just some comments on Sniper Elite before we move on to Totally Baseball. Wayne said, "Don't play Sniper Elite VR as the game is only 5 hours long. At least Medal of Honor was a lot longer game with much longer and more missions."
5 hours isn't a bad time, is it? And if it's a fun 5 hours, why does it, why does that matter so much? Why does this have to be a calculated mathematic thing? It's still a great high production game with, some replay value in terms of getting high scores and levels and everything like that. I don't really agree with playing VR by, 5 hours. It's just, it's not a fun game. It's not a fun game.
Yeah,
by the numbers of hours in the game, personally, unless it is like $60 for like an hour, which this is
Yeah.
$30 for 5.
And what you were saying was, there's room to kind of grind the game for however long, and it depends.
Yeah.
There's different difficulties that could bump it up, like double the time, easy.
Yeah.
You were playing it on medium, right?
Yeah, I played most of it on medium. The hard mode though adds in a lot more kind of ballistics, and like you have to take into effect like direction of the wind and the distance of your shot and everything like that. Much more in the hard mode. So it's kind of an almost all new experience if you want to try it that way again. But it's hard. It's really hard.
So yeah, it depends. It's more of a quality over quantity sort of game. It's what most VR shooters should be kind of aiming to be like, I suppose. Based on Jamie's review.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on from those, it's not a review, it's more impressions, right? Of a Quest early access title, Totally Baseball, which you can imagine you're playing baseball. Ian, you played that today, and you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, just tried Totally Baseball. Very interesting sort of approach, because there aren't many full-fledged baseball games. I don't know of any. There's sort of these home run derby games, but fully fledged, play both sides, do all the actions of baseball, isn't really out there. And so this game is made by basically an Austin, Texas-based group of VR fans, very notable members of the community who have been out there for years, going to meetups and stuff. JJ Castillo is the founder of Viewer Ready, the company that made this game.
Cool.
And it seems like there's a lot for them to build on here. It's bare bones at the moment. They've got the fundamentals of a baseball game down, but there's no multiplayer yet. They're planning to get that out by the end of the year. And there's still a lot they can do to sort of layer on and build on this game. I think once they get multiplayer in there, this really could come alive in a really significant way. So they've got really interesting things that they've done in the game to sort of make it work. You don't actually physically throw the ball. You've got a hand cannon. You've got a cannon in your hand. So you just point the cannon and pull the trigger to direct the ball where you want it to go. You've got one-handed batting. So you've got like a big bat in your hand, and you're swinging that with one hand. Then they've got basically all the locomotion systems you could want in there. So you've got arm swinger by default, which really gets you in the feeling of running to catch the ball or running down the baseline to get to first base. But you can also activate smooth locomotion, or you can also do the sort of teleport system where you've got a version of yourself running out in front of you, and then you teleport into it when you're done. And it's very clearly made with like a lot of love for just VR development in general. There's this quote that Castillo gave me where he said, releasing the game isn't so much about making money, but more so hoping to inspire game devs and studios in the future to develop more sports games. There's it feels like a game jam game that really got fully fledged out into a full VR product. And it really kind of fills an empty hole in like the Oculus Quest lineup for that kind of game, a fully fledged baseball game. So if you go look at the Quest store and look for a game that fits the kind of sport you love, you're going to find it now between all the different games. And we'll finish off with our sports list. But now there's a full baseball game. So I would love to see what they build on this. One of the things I was talking to JJ Castillo about this, and he mentioned that if you look at all the players' names, I noticed several of them are people like I follow on Twitter. Like I just looked at them like, that looks familiar. I know that name from Twitter. And sure enough, yeah, a bunch of the players are named after friends of the developer or members of the VR community, except for the team called the Robins, which are all named after Robin Williams characters. from his movies, which I love that. I love that little detail.
Yeah, it's a Game Jam game, all right.
Please say one of them's called Genie.
I have to look. If that one isn't one of the team members, I'm going to be pretty upset. But yeah, I'd love to see where this goes as soon as they get multiplayer in here, because it's when you're pitching, you don't have different pitching styles, and you just aim the ball where you want it to go in the box, and you have to, because you've got this hand cannon, you've got to aim it just right and get it to the exact side of the box you want to go on, but you can't throw like a changeup or a fastball or a curveball. But the developer said that they've got a really clever idea, and I don't know if I should spoil it, but they've got a clever idea for supporting different pitching styles down when they actually get the multiplayer update out there. So this is definitely, I think, one to watch as they add more features and keep building on it.
Early access quest titles are interesting, aren't they?
Also, this is exactly what I was going to say. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not early access at the end of the day. It's a full product they're releasing, and this is something weird we're kind of seeing with Quest, is that people are releasing these kind of full games that are then disguising the fact that they're disguising. Sorry, is a little sinister. Facebook doesn't let people have. What are you doing?
Oh, just your text in your YouTube chat is reversed for me, so it looks like it's Russian.
Oh yeah, no.
And I was like, "What is going on there?"
Oh no, I'm not. No, it's all completely legible to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I see it reversed. We see the world differently, I guess, you and I.
Sorry, just before you carry on, Daniel said it's a bit racist thrown to Ian because it's baseball. So Ian was trying to make a joke about us being British, and he's like, "Do you even know anything about baseball?" And I was like, "I've been to a Yankees game."
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh well, never mind. I'll just let that slide. I won't make any jokes about baseball." I was sure you guys. Jamie's been kind of quiet. Do you understand how baseball works?
I've been to Fenway, but it was to see a concert, not to see a baseball game. So yeah, kind of. I've done the Fenway tour. That was really interesting. I sat in the seats, and they were like, "These are the oldest baseball seats in America." And it was like, okay, so what? They were made like yesterday,
50 years ago.
Yeah. We have more culture and history than you, anyway.
But yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, for the super chat donation. Really appreciate that, and a very valid point. Jamie, what were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting because it's like we could go and review this game properly, right? We could, and in some senses we should, because this is a fully presented as ready to market thing for consumers to judge and weigh up, and they need help with that. So there should be a review for that. But at the same time, so much of what you're saying is, let's wait until the multiplayer gets in there. So it's an interesting conundrum, I think, for us as media to be like, when do you, stamp the final verdict on that stuff? Because recently we've had developers come to us and say, look, some of the things that you were talking about in your review a year ago, 2 years ago, or even like a couple of months ago, we fixed now. And that comes down to a question of resources as well. Of, I've been playing, in the past 2 weeks, I've reviewed 9 VR games now, or something silly like that. Some of the written stuff is still to come. And it comes down to a question of resources and what we can do, because there is this element of fairness to all of this stuff. Of if the stuff we've written in a review is outdated, we're getting very editorial in here. If the stuff we've written is
Ian,
outdated,
get out. You're making us too serious.
I'm not doing it. You can't blame me for this. Is it just my presence that put him in this mode?
What do we do to rectify it? I'm just genuinely curious, because like something like this, knowing the multiplayer is not in there, I can imagine playing it for 10 to 15 hours and being like, it's a 3 out of 5, and then we get to the end of the year and they say, okay, well, multiplayer's in here now, and it's like, well, okay, sure, but I've got another bunch of reviews to get through. It's an incredibly weird, changing environment that you don't get. Traditional games media often are just reviewing these big boxed $60 releases that will get patches to improve stuff, but they can't add major new features and everything like that, because that's just more years of work and make these major fixes.
I was talking about this with Harry a little bit, where I feel like we're in the golden age of VR games to a certain extent. I was thinking about this, where not a lot of these developers are owned by the big studios. They're exploring new things every week, trying out new things. So there's not like this, I mentioned it earlier, this quarterly drive to make your investors happy and constantly push out that new thing. You're spending as much time as you can getting something that is near and dear to your heart right. And that's what I really feel is what these devs have really tried to do with Totally Baseball. But the reason I kind of like, we had two games pop up on our radar this week. We had Totally Baseball and Ragnarok, this game that's on Steam with 1,000 reviews and an overwhelmingly positive rating, and they're coming to Quest. But I reached out to both these devs, and I'm like, are you going to be on App Lab or on the actual official Quest store? And in the case of Totally Baseball, they're on the official store. In the case of Ragnarok, with 1,000 reviews from Steam, it's going to be an App Lab initially, and there's no actual release date. So it's still in like this approval queue by Facebook of having to make it through their quality control layers. And so like, how do we as editorial people trying to help our consumers out there make smarter choices judge these two projects against one another? They're both emerging from Steam early access, but on a Quest standalone, they're being presented in completely different ways to the end consumer. So it's like this, it's a very, very strange time to have games coming out of Steam early access while entering standalone broad availability at the same time. But again, I go back to this, it feels like this golden age where people are exploring new things all the time. And we're going to look back on this time. I remember Michael Abrash at Facebook. These are the good old days when this stuff gets so much more polished in a couple more years and so much more corporate.
Yeah, and to that point, it was also interesting what you said just then of like, this feels a gap in the library, and we're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff on Quest recently as well. That's entirely what my Chess Club review was based on last week, of like, it's a really good version of chess, and I think the people that made this game totally identified that what's all the, like, everything that's going on the Quest platform right now, where's the gap we can fill? Someone's already done table tennis, someone's already done like a bunch of other like sport, boxing and everything like that. Oh, chess, no one's done chess. Let's do chess really, really well and get it onto Quest, because then you can be the Quest chess game if you do it really well. And so it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, get it out, get it onto Quest, be the Quest basketball game, have that offering, and then keep building on it from there, and flesh it out into something that people are hopefully really, really going to love towards the end of the year or into 2022. It's so weird. It's just such a staggeringly different ecosystem from what we're used to. Console ecosystems have changed massively over the past 10 years now. Literally any indie game pretty much can get onto PlayStation now, to the point where things happen on PlayStation where you're like, how did that get on the official PlayStation store? Because that looks like absolute garbage. And I think
about... Go for it.
No, you go.
I was gonna say the thing about Facebook. I keep saying it. They're not originally a gaming platform, so they're just messing up loads of stuff, in my opinion. I don't think they quite understand the gaming landscape as Sony or Steam, because they are primarily and only gaming platforms, right?
No, I know what you mean.
There's confusion there.
Yeah, it's hard, and there is confusion there, basically, from the way they do things. I can understand how they're doing it, because at the end of the day, they saw Rift and Oculus Go, to quote Jesse Shell, with all this shovelware, with letting anything onto the store, like 15 releases a week, or looking at Steam VR and the same thing happening, 15 releases a week, none of them interesting, none of them worth a single cent or penny. And they didn't want that to happen again. So they've got to this point with the Quest where App Lab is kind of an interesting solution, but there's not, to basically what Ian's getting at, there's not consistency there. Why isn't such a popular Steam VR release? Why isn't that just fast track to get on there? Why wasn't To the Top, which was a very popular Steam VR release at the time? Why wasn't that fast track to get onto Quest? Why does it have to be sold on AppLab? And Dead Effect 2 and everything like that as well. There is no consistency at the end of the day. There are things released like Tarzan. We were talking about Tarzan last week.
Yeah.
What are you saying about Tarzan?
I missed your Tarzan conversation, but I was going to bring up Tarzan as this. I remember Harry getting into Tarzan and having very strong thoughts on it and how
does.
those. Well, but I mean,
strong thoughts.
Here we are, almost a year later, or half a year later, and it doesn't seem like those things that he thought were a problem back then ever got changed.
It's watch it. I think the review's still gonna probably go live maybe tomorrow, maybe this weekend, maybe sometime into next week. It's the weirdest thing. Tarzan is just the weirdest thing, and there's like an hour of it, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And it's totally that. That's the kind of thing where you're like, did that just get approved based on name alone? Like, Facebook were like, Tarzan VR will sell. Let's go for it. So obviously that's a big wider thing to extract from Totally Baseball, but it's interesting, man. It's gonna be another interesting couple of months as they keep refining this path, or hopefully refining this path.
So there's admiration there for Totally Baseball. Wonderful.
Yes.
I want to apologize because I did miss something out before the reviews.
I knew it.
I told you so. But this kind of rolls in nicely. I take back my apology because this actually goes perfectly. Okay. Ian, you've been playing something else recently too, haven't you?
Yes. So the Natural Magic update for Waltz of the Wizard is out, and it is a game that has been in development for 5 years now. It's one of these games that it's one of these games that has been through all the ages of consumer VR, and it's not a huge list of games that are on that list. I mean, Super Hot, I guess, would be there. Job Simulator, H3 VR.
Beat Saber, maybe? No, not Beat Saber.
Beat Saber's a little older. I mean, it kind of hit this time right after that 2006 rush of these devs trying to get out the first hand-controlled VR games to consumers. And I had the head of Alden Dynamics into the studio yesterday to try to get at some of the directions they're trying to head with this software. It's very clear. So let me explain what's going on here. The new update adds a very deep, long single-player campaign that you can go in and go through various levels against various different enemies. But the new feature here in this particular update is the ability to summon magic with this very simple gesture of just going like this and gripping you basically are doing this little fist with your hand as you're pulling magic into your hand, and then you see it floating around, these little particles, and then you can do things with it once you've got it in your hand. You can toss it out into the world, and once you've tossed it out into the world, you can redirect it in different directions and hit these enemies and then do things with them once it's collided. The magic system, it feels very easy to learn, hard to master type thing, but it still feels like there's a lot more to be explored with this kind of idea. Like they're just kind of scratching the surface of what they can do with it. In addition, they also have voice control where you can put some of these magical particles in your mouth. You just do the Job Simulator thing where you eating the magic basically, and then you can just yell out into the world, and you see these little sonic waves come out whenever you say something pretty loud. So you've got one of these enemies coming up to you, and you can punch them. You can do this quick magic and throw something at them, or you can yell at them and push them back. And the combo of those three things is pretty neat from like a proof of concept point of view. There was at one point I was walking down this hallway, and they shoot these arrows at you, and these arrows are coming at me. I just go no, like really loudly, right? And
Oh.
the arrows fly back, right? Because I've put the magic in my mouth and I've now got magic voice, right?
Please stop saying I put the magic in my mouth.
I know, sorry. It's so, it sounds so stupid, but what you doing? It's fun. I'm sorry.
I have ingested the magic.
Oh my gosh. This game, I can't wait to see what they do with it. It's one of these always evolving things. And if you recall the way that they actually debuted this game, it was free on, in 2016 as a free demo. You could try and explore room scaled VR and hand controlled interactions and what you could do with it. Then they upped the price and they changed the name to Extended Edition. I think it was around $10 for most of its life. And then they've upped it to $20 with this Natural Magic update. You get the sense with these devs that they're trying to increase their scope. They're trying to be more ambitious. They've got years and years of experience. But what they had to do with this particular update is they, on the Quest version of the Extended Edition, the entire game became hand controlled. So you could put down the controllers, you could use a gesture to teleport from place to place, or not teleport, but like fast travel move at these little points along the ground. And then you could do all of the interactions in the game with just open air gestures. That was pretty neat. But the new Natural Magic update, you don't have, if you go to the new areas, you have to use the controllers for now. And it's pretty obvious why, because you need to have pretty fast gestures to pull this magic in as this bad guy is coming at you and kind of really push these enemies back. But I gotta say, the combination of voice control to fight off an enemy, punching them physically with my hands, just reaching out and punching, and then pulling magic from the air with just this gesture, they're really, really starting to zero in on really, 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 really neat things. And I want to see them have another 2 years at this and see what this becomes with another year or two of development.
So two questions on that front. First of all, obviously, I think one of the things that's kind of always made me a bit reserved about Waltz is that it is essentially a tech demo, right? Or it was before this, essentially, a very splashy, cool tech demo, and that's why it was available for free. And then they added in stuff that they thought it was worth charging for. Does Natural Magic bring it towards feeling like an actual full game, or does it still, for you, kind of sit in that tech showcase kind of?
Yes,
that's the thing. I love the question. It's perfect, and I kind of put those questions to the head of Alton Dynamics over there, because
say his name.
It's both. It's both. It's still the tech demo, and it is starting to become that game, a fully fledged game. There is that full campaign there. I haven't gotten deep into it, and there is a skill level, there's a learning curve to the magic and how you get better at it, and realizing how you can kind of direct the magic in certain ways after a certain amount of time with it. But I think that's the question. It is still a tech demo, and it is still this. It's still evolving into a game. They're still putting the gamifying elements into the game.
So, second question on top of that, then, would you rather now that they made the next update and maybe increased the price again, or just did Walk to the Wizard 2 and made it into a full campaign? Because that is what I really want them to do. I don't want more Waltz updates. I understand that it's been pretty successful for them, and that they are building out this, like basically this encyclopedia of how to do different things in VR. But I personally, I think, it's been like 5 years. It's time to build something with that, is what I would say.
Well, the campaign element of the game is really them doubling down on making this a game. So it is there, and I need to get through more levels than I've gotten through to really pass judgment on whether it stands on its own based on that single player campaign element of the game. I think that's a really interesting perspective. I'd be curious to put that question to Alden Dynamics, where if you look over at Cloudhead, which I kind of think of Cloudhead as this contemporary, similar size, similar ambition studio, trying to unlock similar ideas, where Cloudhead had the gallery games, which expansive Myst-like games that did not do well commercially. And then coming back with Pistol Whip, which is just this zeroing on let's make this little core gameplay loop so much fun and addictive, so satisfying to come back to and play again and again and keep you into the game. Whether they're taking any sort of notes from what Cloudhead did there with Waltz of the Wizard, or whether they're going to go their own way and just keep innovating here on this one core idea.
Because I remember a while ago, Harafin did like he did a series of tweets where he came up with like just really, really cool like action mechanics and stuff. Like he was pulling pins out of grenades and things like that, and just really good stuff. And he's very much an advocate for, you know, immersive, realistic design. You know, it's if you follow him on Twitter, that's mainly what he talks about, is actually getting to the core of this stuff, and it's really interesting to read and see what he's doing. I want the eventual outlet for that is this big, really immersive game at the end of the day. And so I'm gonna check out the campaign here, because I want to see how close that gets to what I'm envisioning.
So again, just to clarify, which way is it kind of leaning? Demo-ish or campaign-ish? I wasn't entirely clear. Dead in the middle?
I'll call it campaign. I mean, there's the campaign. I got crushed. So I got crushed by the magic at first, where I was being stupid and wasted a lot of time not understanding how to do the magic gesture. Then the moment it just clicked, okay, this is exactly how to pull the magic into my hands. Then there's like this learning curve of just what can I do with it when I push it out into the world. And that's a significant amount of time of just learning these basic systems. And so there's effort that I think they probably need to do into educating the user on how to get onboarded with this magic system. As it is right now, you walk into a shack and there's signs on the wall, and the signs explain, okay, this is how you pull magic into your hand, and then you have to go out and discover how to actually use it. Well, I'd like maybe like a pantomimed person right in front of me actually doing it, so I know how to do it. And I don't know, that sort of stuff could probably be added and evolved over time. But there is this multi-level thing where the enemies get harder over time, and it was pretty difficult. And so I kind of need to see how far I can take the magic systems and how long it takes me to get through all those levels of the game to really pass judgment on whether it's a fully fledged game at this point.
Cool. Yeah, because we weren't really all that clear. So we showed this at our UploadVR showcase this year. Watch that back. Where we announced a bunch of cool games and updates and such. So yeah, it's nice that, you know, we can actually get our hands on this and hear from you what it actually is and what we can actually expect from it. It's nice. It's good. They're definitely taking it up a notch. I think now is time to move on to the best VR sports games. Unless if anyone has anything else to touch on before then.
No, that's
wonderful.
I'm going to be pondering the questions you guys put to me, because they were really great questions on this game. The last word on this is just, I think this is a demo for the next 2 years of VR development. You always complain about you talked about Alex being this demonstration of like the first, you know, this is the end all be all of generation 1 of VR gaming. This is everything perfected but it didn't express a lot of new concepts. Here, I think we're seeing the new concepts that should be perfected over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, because it is, you do need that demoing, you do need that test bed, right? And because that stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere. Like even to get to the point that Alex was at, Valve needed to do the lab. It needed to do it needed to work with Cloudhead on the handshaking demo. It needed to do the demo on the moon. Those were all these different individual projects that led to Alex, and that got us that far. But you're right. Like I always talk about on this podcast that free hit punch combo thing of Boneworks, Walking Dead, and Alex, and to me that was kind of like this really brilliant time where we really did see the future of VR gaming. And then we haven't really seen so much of that since, but that's because people have gone away from that brilliant little trifecta that we had in that 6-month stretch a couple of years ago, and people are now being like, okay, how do we take that to the next level and build something of that? And that takes a lot of time at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Ian, here's another game that you really love.
Mm.
Is that you? In fact, is that you in the
I don't know.
in the
Probably not.
screenshot?
I don't know.
That's actually the hoodie that I used to have on my avatar.
Yeah, it is.
And when I first played 11 Table Tennis, that guy's opposite you. And the quest screen's still a little blurry, so I couldn't quite work it out. And I just thought I was playing a mirror of myself. And then he turned up in every other screenshot, and I was like, "What am I doing in there?"
So, our best VR sports games list has just been updated, which you can check out over at uploadvr.com. These are in no particular order. But we are going to start off with 11 Table Tennis, which we have got a real specialist here today. Thank you so much, Ian, for being here.
My brother is one of the he back in the day he wanted to be in the Olympics for table tennis. I mean, like he was that serious about it, and he tried to get me to be a little 5-year-old training little brother as he's 15, trying to get me good at table tennis. I just wouldn't take to it. But I learned a few things, and it is an amazingly great recreation of table tennis. Several of the games on this list here have accessories that people have actually gone out and 3D printed or made at home to really take the simulation to the next level. And 11 Table Tennis is one of them, where I have a 3D printed paddle that's left-handed. I fit the Quest controller into.
Are you left-handed?
And I'm able to really get that feel of table tennis. It's just a fantastic game.
I never knew you were left-handed.
Yeah.
Yep, here it is. Here's my left hand. I'm swinging it.
I think just to add to that, like earlier we were talking about this idea of like, you spot the games that Quest doesn't have and you build out the library with that. And I think all of that almost originated from this game, because it is so there basically never needs to be another VR table tennis game, because this is just so brilliantly done.
And they've been working on adding tons of features to really round out all the things you can do with this. I've seen on their Discord group, they've talked about people, virtual coaches, where you can go in there and get coached by someone else out there who's a table tennis expert. And they're selling incredibly well. And you're exactly right. This is one of those games that's so good. I want to be able to buy the table and have it in my home screen, and have friends over to play table tennis in my home screen. And I would love to see, I think that's an interesting model for multiplayer VR, rather than buying the same copy of a game 4 times. Let's buy one copy of the game and go to a person's home. Your home can have it if you buy that game.
So, as someone who doesn't, I'm okay at table tennis. I just could not get it. It's the same as like throwing in VR for me. I'm hopeless at that.
But it's the same. It's the
concept of
same.
it.
It's the same as starting table tennis, right? You start thinking it's the same as what tennis is for me. Anytime I play tennis, I think I'm hopeless at this. I can play table tennis a little better than I can play. Although the one time I faced Ian, I did not play that well. But
it was an off day. It was an off day. It's okay.
Yeah, let's call it that. That's what it was.
Next up on the list, well, it was quite a riot when we first spoke about it. Carve snowboarding.
Yeah.
I don't know if Adam, are you still in the chat? It's your
famous game on this podcast, yeah. The yard sale a thon.
Have you ever yard sailed, Ian?
I've been skiing. I have not ever been snowboarding, and I have not played Carve yet.
But have you ever yard sailed?
Have you ever yard sailed?
Yard sailed? I misunderstood. I'm worried about my battery. I'm down to 20% here. I'm plugging in.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yard sale? Why are you talking about yard sales? Of course.
It's where you fall off of your snowboard.
What?
And your clothes explode off of you.
No, that's the term we've come up with. In actual winter sports, if you fall off and like lose a boot or something, it's called a yard sale because
everything
falls
out.
And that's for sale.
Okay.
Yeah,
yard sale.
But
okay.
We took
it
that
kind
to
of evolved into nakedness for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, you really
How much
like
time
this.
did you spend in this game?
I really love Carve, and I'm glad to revisit actually this week because I've been thinking about it a lot. What Carve did really well was replace your feet with your hands, and I know that sounds weird, but it managed to do a very good replication of you still feeling very naturally in tune with the board and very, like one with the board in if I was going to sound pretentious. And I really got into, as I was playing it for review, I really got into the swing of things of getting down a hill and moving my feet in the same way I skateboard a little bit. And, I kind of have this kind of natural intuition of how to turn with my feet. I feel that in my hands when I'm playing Carve, and I've played Carve enough. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have some of the tactile feedback you're going to need to really make it feel like a snowboarding game. But in terms of implementations of these kinds of things, and we've seen a lot of winter sports, we've seen a bit of skateboarding in VR and everything like that. Carve is far and away the best implementation of all those things I've seen so far.
Yeah, wonderful. I gave it a go. Found it a little bit hard, but I think it's one of those things that it needs to kind of click once you're playing. I mean, it didn't help that I didn't do the tutorial, but there's a dog as well, so I think people really like that about it.
Instant points.
Next up, I kind of feel like this is almost like a Notorious sort of game of like there are those multiplayer games where kids seem to love it. And this seems to be one of them, which is, both good and bad. I haven't necessarily played this, actually. Although I know one of our viewers was in A&E the other day, or ER for the Americans, because they smashed their hand against the wall playing this.
You can't go inventing new terms like this. It's very hard to keep up.
It's accident and emergency.
It's long established.
Long established.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Echo VR is definitely one of the pantheon of I'm going to injure myself playing this game, alongside like Gorn and Blade and Sorcery, right? Yeah, it's such a shame that we have to, any conversation about Echo VR has to start off with this question of the community or discussion of the community, because it has become that kind of just place a lot of people don't want to be, essentially. But I think it should still be included in a list like this, because we shouldn't be discrediting, we shouldn't let other people ruin it for us at the end of the day. And you have the options to get into Echo VR and keep yourself safe and away from all the nastiness that can go on. So I don't want to focus on that, because the great thing about Echo VR is everything else on this list that we're going to talk about today is a sport, a real life sport, and we're talking about virtual replications of it. Echo VR is a sport made in VR, and that's so cool. And it's so cool that when we talk about esports and everything like that, this is kind of the thing that leads the charge, because this is a sport and it is a very physical, interesting exploration of how VR changes the game at the end of the day. And I'm so glad that Ready at Dawn have stuck with it after so many years, because so many multiplayer VR games don't get the kind of support that Echo VR's had over the years. And it's just great to see that. I really hope we get to see the combat expansion on Quest at some point as well.
What's the game that the E Valkyrie guys did that was similar to this?
Spark. Yeah, similar kind of. That was interesting. That was very much a sports arena funhouse kind of thing. But yeah, that is a classic case of something that didn't get the support it needed.
Yeah, it's a shame because I really actually loved playing that when I tried it out.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would have viewers that don't know what Echo VR is, but just Ultimate Frisbee meets Ender's Game is the way I've decided that this is going to be described for all points going forward. This is exactly like that Zero-G game from the book Ender's Game, combined with you've got a frisbee in your hand, which you need to get through the other side's end of the space, and I don't get sick in this. We joke about simulator sickness, the ability to kind of throw yourself in a straight line and stay in that straight line until you hit something else and whatever caused you to go into a different direction. It really hits perfectly for me, and I don't really get sick in it.
Yeah, and just again, we were talking about it earlier, but just completely underscores when is Lone Echo 2 going to get here? Because it's been 4 years without something new of this format now, and we need it. But yeah, cool game, bro.
Cool. Yeah. I didn't mean to start off on a negative note on it. It's definitely, it's on our best VR
I wasn't telling you off. I was just saying it's a shame. I'm just saying it's a shame that, it has to dominate the conversation
like Rec
that way.
Room, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Rec Room's incredible.
Exact same sort of thing. But it has this one underlying thing.
Ender's Frisbee, they call it in the comments. That's a great description. Yeah, Ender's Frisbee.
Next up is Walkabout Mini Golf, which this is one of the very many islands that you can play on. It looks gorgeous. I love golf. Oh, off he goes. Is this something that you played, Ian?
Yep, I am addicted to it now.
Woo!
So I kind of slept on this game. Took me a while to discover it, and I think David played it. Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned that person's name. He's dead now.
Don't worry. Jamie's not here to basically cry into his headset.
It has been played for an hour on our stream in the past by another previous member of the UploadVR team. And I finally got into it pretty recently, and I'm so hooked. The way this game recreates mini golf in such a way that it's better than mini golf. And I've spent like a week or two here trying to own whether I could really say that, and I've decided that yes, it is better than physical mini golf for a number of reasons. You don't have the people behind you rushing you to the next hole. You can pass your club through the walls at the edge of the course, so you don't have to move the ball away from the wall if it's too close to a wall. You can just move your putter right through it.
Is that a positive?
I think it is. I mean, I don't want to have to change the ball, one club length or whatever every time I get there. It's very fast moving, I guess what I'm getting at.
Better than mini golf in that sense. Yeah, you just want to get on with it. Yeah,
and there's various challenging courses here that aren't physically possible in the real world. And the feature that I have an interview on our channel with the lead developer of Walkabout Mini Golf. So go check that out if you love this game, to hear about their plans and what they're doing next with it. But they've got two things on these courses that, just in addition to just it being a really great representation of mini golf, they've got hidden balls, like Easter eggs across every course. And I've played this game now with both my kids, and it has just absolutely hooked them. The ability to okay, I'm going to hit my ball. Okay, let me go find the hidden ball. And you spend the next 2 minutes going and finding hidden balls, and it feels exactly like an Easter egg hunt to them. It's just phenomenal.
That's
how
cute.
Perfectly it fits that. And then there's also like these treasure hunts that I haven't gotten into because I think they're on the hard courses. There's hard modes of every course, so you can play through the courses normal, and then you can switch over to doing like a harder version mode of it. And I think there's treasure hunts for those harder version modes. And these things unlock multiple clubs, and they also unlock different balls that you can get in the game. And it's just all comes together perfectly. And then like the final like icing on the cake of everything else is it's got crossplay from the PC version of the game to the mobile version of the game to the standalone Quest version of the game. And they're also working on a phone version of the game, so you can play it kind of in an AR type mode where you're physically moving your phone through the air like a putter at a hole. And that will also have crossplay with the other devices. So this is going to be a game that I think is going to probably go crazy in the next year. And up there with 11 Table Tennis, you put these two games together. I saw one of our commenters mention this. If you want to point a person to the power of VR, you can take them to a quick session of mini golf and a quick table tennis game. And that is the quickest way I think you could probably really get them to realize how big VR is going to be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Again, it's just one of those things that just absolutely fills that spot in that library and does it as well as you could possibly ask it to do.
So you have talked this up so much that D1360 seems overhyped
for mini golf.
Something
overhyped
for this game.
Ultimate
Next
mini-golf,
up is The Climb 2, which again hasn't been reviewed by any of us. It was by a previous UploadVR member of staff.
Traitor. I wouldn't call him staff so much as, like chimney sweep. We just let him, just get on with it.
It's well loved by many people. I think it also depends on which platform you play this on, right? I think
you can only play it on Quest. It's one of those things.
Quest.
It's one of those things where they did the trailer in PC because they're very tricky with these things. So you got PC visuals in the trailer, and then it ended up, translating.
I hate it when they do that. Like, yes, you can do it on PC, and it's technically the game, but don't do that. Make it representative.
Yeah, it's sneaky. And again, it's just one of those things where it's a shame we have to frame it in that way, because that is, that is the thing about The Climb was that it was such a good Rift exclusive back in the day, and it was such a good communication of the instant power of VR, like those other two things, but in a bit more of an extreme way. And The Climb 2 is just, more of all of that. It's taking a proven concept that was really good and really fun, and just fleshing out the extremity of it, of what you can do in terms of really ridiculous and fun level design, really great set pieces. At the end of the day, snake. Yeah, and attack birds and everything like that, and it's
all the good stuff.
It's interesting because climbing has become a real staple part of VR design. It's one of the most immersive ways. It's essentially like a streamlined version of what you get in Echo VR. It's a really immersive way to move about. And this is, adding systems and mechanics and considerations into that process that you don't get in other games. And I love, one thing I love is when YouTubers and whatnot take a quest to a climbing wall and get people to play The Climb, because that's where you get a genuine reaction of, even for someone that's a real life climber, they get amazed by the tech and they think it's really cool, even though their feet are still on the ground. It still communicates the power of their hobby and their addiction in some way. So I think that's what's really powerful about The Climb.
Yeah, wonderful. It's definitely a well-loved title.
Mm-hmm.
A fan fave. Next up on the list, taking it down a little notch. Punching people in the face. Do you like it? You'll like this. Thrill of the Fight. See the spit and the sweat coming off of him? There we go. No.
We're just fist bumping. We're just fist bumping. Don't worry, there's no violence on the podcast. We don't have to tell YouTube there was violence. Oh!
Oh, no.
Yeah, Thrill of the Fight's really, really, really good. It's the most intense VR workout experience, I think, by some way. I think it's got a pretty good reputation as that right now. And this is one of the few on the list that you could go between this and Creed. And Creed does have really cool ideas and implementations. Will you stop reading my notes?
It's your battery that it's making me really uncomfortable.
It's plugged in, so it's going down very slowly now.
Okay.
I'll make it.
I'll make it
down.
Through
the next one.
God damn you, Nintendo,
3, 4,
and your weak
5
little
chargers,
USBs.
He's using the Nintendo's USB-C. Are you connected to your Switch right now?
No, it's just the nearest USB-C I had.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with this stuff. Anyway, Thrill of the Fight, really good workout, really good VR workout. If you don't like getting punched in the face, which I don't, then it's a good way. It's the closest you're ever going to get to an actual boxing experience. I don't like getting punched in the face. And
Not many people do.
The thing I was going to say before Ian so rudely interrupted by reading my private notes is that Creed is really good in terms of having very gamified ways to navigate, like, fatigue and the physicality of boxing that you just can't replicate when you're essentially punching the air and not getting hit back. Thrill of the Fight is just all out exercise, super intense. And I think if you're looking at VR as a way of maybe improving some fitness, yes, obviously there's the great side of Beat Saber and there's a bunch of really cool fitness apps as well. But you should definitely be checking this out as well because it is very intense. Okay,
so next up, this image that I'm going to put up. No, it's not your shredded corpse from Vader Immortal. Is that a spine that you are? I don't get this. I haven't played this.
It's just one of the many customization options in Racket NX.
It's a spine.
Yeah, sure, but what if you want to be a spine, a skeleton?
Okay, but it's definitely your spine from, like, Vader Immortal. Anyway, Racket NX. I don't have anything to say about it because I haven't played it. But again, this has made it onto our best VR sports games list. Can one of you two speak more about this spine game?
I think, Ian, have you played Racket much?
It's been a while. This game has been around for a long time, and it's gone through a lot of iterations, and I really haven't touched it in some of its more recent versions.
Yeah, because I know Harry is very, very keen on it, and it's kind of got some of that paddle experience in there, table tennis experience in there, but it's also got some other stuff. It's one of those interesting things where earlier I said, we probably won't need another table tennis game other than 11 on Quest, but what you kind of get with Racket and some of its game modes is you get what happens if you take all of that and kind of extract the reality out of it. And that's one of the really fun things that VR can do at the end of the day, in the same way that Demio is a realistic board game until you end up, the pieces end up coming alive, or the same way that Chess Club is a realistic chess game until the pieces end up coming alive. This kind of abstracts reality in a really, really fun way, which I think is a good reason why it should be included, because I think if Spark, the CCP game that you were talking about earlier, I think if that had managed to maintain an audience and stick around and get updates, that's probably what would have replaced Racket on this list. But right now, I think in terms of the kind of cool Tron sci-fi experience outside of Echo VR, which is obviously its own thing, I think that's what Racket gets you, and that's why it should be recognized in the list.
Yeah, you brought up Spark earlier, and I think Racket NX lived where Spark died, right? Is kind of like the way I take that is this embodiment of a Tron type experience that really gives you some of those the ability to throw things and really catch them. I mean, it's It's interesting. The comments here are kind of like so divided, and I think that's pretty true for this game. It's how I kind of feel about it. Where if you don't, throwing in VR is so hard. We go back to mentioning Totally Baseball earlier in this show, and I was talking to the developer there, and they have a hand cannon on there. It's literally, you've got this baseball game, and you've got pitching, but you don't have throwing. And throwing is so hard to pull off. And as soon as we have eye-tracked VR headsets, I think throwing is going to kind of take off in a pretty cool way, because you can target what you want to throw at so well with the eye tracking. But I'm with these commenters that are kind of like, this game didn't click for me, but for other people it really does click in a perfect way for them.
Yeah, and I think it is that update thing again of, this is quite an old game now, but it has maintained that user base, and it has kept growing with these sequential updates that have been adding, what a lot of people have been asking for. So it is an interesting one. But I do think it's a good inclusion on the list because of that. It's a great example of sustaining with updates and growing your community out of that.
So the next one on the list, which is 7 out of 10, FYI. Another one that I'm not too familiar with, mostly because they're using football in the wrong way.
You refuse it on just
2MD
ethics?
VR Football Unleashed. Looks very cool. Oh, there's the American flag. There's Subway. Hold on.
What?
Are there ads in this?
Where do you see Subway?
It's there.
Oh, yeah. To be fair,
What's this?
Yeah, this was one of the discussions around ads in VR, was how it already fits into sports games because it's they already exist.
That's interesting. We should follow up on that. Anyway, the thing about 2MD is that, we've been talking about all these sports that you can do well in VR. So we've been talking about golf, we've been talking about table tennis, we've been talking about sports that were made because of VR. American football, as it should be called, isn't something you can easily do in VR because there's just so much locomotion, there's so much throwing involved, as Ian was saying just earlier, that that's not there in VR yet. And physical contact is not something you really want to be doing in VR sports games because, there's nothing more physical out there than being hit by someone in American football and like being thrown to the ground, and you just can't replicate any of that really right now. So what 2MD does, which is really interesting, is to kind of double down on the idea of strategy and plays, and to make a good pun out of this. That's the smart play with this game, to focus on the strategy and then try and reenact the plays that you're planning out before you go with it, because you can't do the full experience yet really well. You can try, but it's going to be missing so many things, and there's just going to be so many answers. Yeah, fantasy exactly. Football. Yeah. No, it is exactly like that. And I remember when the Rift launched, there was a launch title called Sports Champions, and tellingly, that was like a minigame collection, and it wasn't. Oh yeah, there's full football, golf, and everything games in there. It was these kind of slice of life dream moments. So the football bit there was, oh yeah, throw the football and win the game, and the entire stadium's shouting at you. It wasn't this super accurate football simulator. So
what'd you do that for? Sorry. The whole stadium shouting at you. You idiot. Sorry.
Yeah, it's actually a nightmare experience.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's the intelligent and cool thing about 2MD, is that the best you can do in terms of getting this kind of experience in VR right now is to double down on the strategy and the plays, and that's what it does very well.
Ian.
No.
And don't take this in the wrong way. I'm just trying to verify something because it might be an American thing. Is Pound Town a real thing? I don't know. Adam Hartzell keeps saying...
Oh my god.
I don't know. I don't know what...
Because he said it several times.
It's been brought up. I have no idea
know if it's like a burger
Adam
place.
is like bringing this up. I don't... No, I don't... It's a
not
very crude turn of
interactive.
phrase. That's all I know it as.
I mean, it would fit in the game of American football. If
I
it is
I
indeed
thought
a
it was
genuine
like a
use
burger
of the term.
place. Anyway, there's Nike as well.
Anyway.
Real Housewives of Tackle County.
Of all the questions
Yeah,
I
but
thought you were
this
going to
is
ask
weird,
me, I
'cause-
did not
Sorry.
expect that one to be the one. I'm just going to put that out there.
It's just
God
sometimes we get
damn you.
comments. Sometimes our community send things to us, and we're like, I don't know if we should read this out loud or not, but we'll just
Adam
go
has
for it.
just explained
But
it.
Zeena just goes for it, right?
Yeah,
I
Zeena.
ignore
I
those.
need to know. Adam's like one of our trusted people. So he said
So that's how we
instead
get
of
trolled, right? Is in the space
Instead of-
between our American and British cultures, trying to find out
Yeah.
if there's,
There's stuff we don't know about. They're probably saying things like they probably come on the tech show on Monday and they're like, yeah, Fanny Town and stuff like that.
Don't say that. So
Anyway.
Adam said it's like dollar store, and then we have pounds. So he said we don't have
Move
Pound
on.
Town. We have pound stores as well.
Move on.
Adam, he pays us. He's a member, but you've messed us up.
Woo! Happy Thursday. Next up is 4VR Bowl.
Mm,
It should be coming up
bloody Stevie.
past that.
Are we coming up
that.
on 2 hours
There
here?
we
Have
go.
we been in here 2 hours?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're
I'm
on the
not
last
responsible
two.
for this. I don't want to get blamed for this. I don't come on
We're-
your show a lot, but
What? 2 hours is good. Sometimes people like a good 2 hour podcast to run to or drive to. They probably don't. Run
if I
for
don't
2
come,
hours.
if I don't come back, it's because Jamie really didn't like being in here for 2 hours.
That's fine. I'm happy. Anyway, let's hurry up and finish.
4VR Bowl. It's good. It's got
4VR Bowl is a very, very interesting one because
Is it?
I reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, and
Mhm.
and my thing about this is it's still a 3 stars, and it's a very good bowling simulation for a platform that isn't yet able to really replicate the sport. So we were talking about throwing and everything earlier. It's hard. It's
Sorry.
she just hit a desk with her hand, and that's your fault.
No, I didn't hit a desk. Okay, I hit the desk with my hand. That's what I did.
It's really hard to throw a bowling ball in VR and judge if it's actually going to work or not. Premium bowling on Quest just takes that idea and it's like, well, okay, we'll just automate the experience a lot. 4VR takes that idea and it's just like, no, okay, you have to get this perfect. And they continue to update it and get quite interesting results. But there's still a way to go. But I still think it's a good inclusion on the list.
Wonderful.
What's the last one, Zeena?
The last one is Real VR fishing. Do you like fish?
He does. He loves it.
I love.
Do you like sharks?
If I'm gonna recommend games for people out there, I'm gonna say go out and buy 11 table tennis, go out and get Walkabout mini golf, and go out and get Real VR fishing. Those are my 3
Is that
favorite
enough of
games.
this?
Who cares about those stupid shooters? I mean, yeah, I'll go play the I'll go play Sniper Elite, but no, these are my games. All multiplayer, all just incredible games to relax in, and also you can get pretty competitive, even though you're not like getting super physical necessarily in all of them. You're not super active. It's still a great bit of competition. And 11 table tennis, I guess, is the exception there. You can get really physical. The thing that sets apart this one is the ability to pull up a web browser. We're obviously waiting for multitasking to roll out on Quest to all users, but this is that game that lets you pull up a web browser while you're fishing and have something playing there in a browser window while you're fishing, and you can have friends to your right and left. Just a fantastic, fantastic game.
Wonderful. So that was our top 10 VR sports games. You
Is
can
it
check
10?
that out on Upload. What's up?
Oh, it is 10. It is 10. Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't realize it was 10. I thought it was like 11.
You can check
forgive
that
me.
out on UploadVR.com, along with all of the stories that we've mentioned and the reviews. We're going to wrap it up there because these two are getting all antsy and stuff. Apparently, they don't like being in VR for that long.
Adam
Noobs.
Hartzell just suggested spamming Gorilla Tag in chat, so we need to get out of here before things take a real turn for the worse.
Oh no, we've given Adam
FNAF,
unlimited
FNAF,
power.
FNAF.
He's gonna ruin us.
FNAF. Damn FNAF.
As always, thank you everyone who has joined us live, and thank you if you are watching this back. If you've lasted through this all the way to the
You're
end.
the last of us.
Ride
You are the
bullet.
last of us.
Daniel wants to go ride the bullet. Thank you,
We have
Daniel,
to
for
finish.
the donation.
All right,
Thank you very much, Daniel.
go ride the bullet. All right, everyone. We'll catch you next Thursday. As always, go to uploadvr.com. Do it now. Do it right now. And like,
There's
comment,
reviews.
subscribe, notifications button.
Full reviews of everything we've talked about today. Well, of Sniper Elite and Sam and Max. Fracked content, more Fracked content is coming tomorrow, so definitely go and check that out. And then have yourself a great weekend. I know it's Friday tomorrow. If you're in England, enjoy the final on Sunday. I know I'm not.
Stay
but
inside. Stay indoors because it's not safe, is it? It's not going to be
Yeah.
safe. Let's be real.
no, it's gonna
We
be
walked
carnage
home
out
last night. It was not safe.
there. It was carnage. Absolute
It was
carnage.
a riot outside. There were police vans everywhere. Anyway, that's a different subject. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Wrapping it up. See you guys next Thursday. See ya.
Bye, gang. Good to see you.